pleasant evening. I warmly welcome you all for this valedictory function. Teachers are change agents or catalysts. They create good human beings, technocrats, bureaucrats, managers, leaders, and professionals to the society. It's a noble profession and very important to any nation. They can do their roles effectively and efficiently only when they are happy and having a healthy mindset. As we all know, this COVID 19 brought us lots of depression, anxiety, frustration, and hopeless life for everyone, including educators. I hope this 2 days faculty development program will definitely bring back normal state of mind to all of the academicians. In this regard, today we have Mrs. Priscilla Joseph, Madam, to talk on engaging your emotions. Now, I feel great to call Dr. S. Arun Prasad, Assistant Professor, Department of IT and Management, for a formal welcome address. Please, sir.
Very good evening, all of you. I'm immensely pleased to welcome everyone to this second day faculty development program conducted by the Department of Information Technology and Management, Arunalandar College, Autonomous, Karumathur, affiliated to Madurai Kamaraj University. At the outset, first and foremost, it's my joy and pleasure to welcome our FDP advisor member, the guest of valedictorian of the day, Dr. K. Puspaveni, Assistant Professor, Research Center in Business Administration, VHN Senthil Kumar Nadar College, Virudhunagar, Tamil Nadu. Welcome you, ma'am. Next, I feel immense happiness to welcome FDB convener, Mr. R. Qadar Farooq, Head, Department of Information Technology and Management. His endless support and encouragement made this program as fruitful. Welcome you, sir. I take this opportunity to extend a warm welcome our today resource person, Ms. Priscilla Joseph, Corporate and Institutional Soft Skill Trainer, Chennai. I welcome you, ma'am. I would like to welcome the session host and moderator, Professor S. Ilayaraja, Associate Professor, Department of Management Studies, Director of Distance Education, Madurai Kamaraj University, Madurai, Tamil Nadu. Welcome you, sir. I extend my heart welcome FDB Organizing Secretary, Mr. P. Ramachandran, Assistant Professor, the Department of Information Technology and Management, who is the backbone of this entire program. I welcome you, sir. I am more delightful and honored to welcome every participant to this second day FDB program across the nation. I welcome you all. It is my great pleasure to welcome our department staff members, Mr. Albert Irudiraj and Dr. Nelson Raja, assistant professors who are backbone supporters of this program. Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your pleasant welcome address. Now I request our organizing secretary, Professor P. Ramchandran, to introduce our chief guest for valedictory address. Dr. K. Pushpameni, madam. Please, sir.
A very good evening to one and all. I feel honored and excited to introduce an excellent academician, a very good researcher, and an extraordinary good human being, Dr. K. Pushpameni, madam, Assistant Professor, Department of Business Administration, VHNSN College, Virudhunagar. She is a recognized research guide from Madurai Kamaraj University and senior most faculty member in the Department of Business Administration. Many students learned a lot of perceptions from her, but more than that, she taught human values more. I humbly welcome you, madam, for our valedictory address.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ramachandran, sir. A warm good evening to one and all present here. First of all, I thank the principal and management of Arunalandar College and also the organizing secretary of this FDP program, Mr. P. Ramachandran, for providing me this opportunity. The topic for this 2 days national level online FDP program is the emotional intelligence and educators' mental health. The topic emotional intelligence. When saying about the topic emotional intelligence, it is a two controversy terms. One is related to mind and another one is related to brain. When coming to the emotional is concerned with the emotions and feelings of a person, which is connected to his mind. But intelligence is the ability to understand learn and think clever. So it is a cognitive process of expressing your emotions with the very clever way. It is very difficult to express your emotions with a clever way, and which can be accepted by the another person in the right sense. Okay, the emotional intelligence is perceived as the two sides of a coin. At the one side, we have to manage our own self awareness and self management, and on the other side, we have to focus on the social awareness and relationship management with the other people. Okay. So in the same concept, the people have to manage their own emotions as well as their emotions with the other persons. Whether we, to the person we are communicating. Therefore, emotional intelligence is a necessary ingredient not only in our day-to-day life, but also in our professional relationships. So the topic FTP had included the mental health of the educators. So as we are all the teaching all in teaching profession, the FDP is very much useful for us. The mental health of educators. Teachers are attuned to the social emotional well-being of our students and trained to monitor their signs such as trauma, anxiety, bullying, and microaggressions. And it's just a very challenging task for the teachers. It has long been known that teaching is a stressful and challenging career, and we wanted to see whether the mental health and well-being of the teachers had improved or declined. A study by Nuffield Foundation reveals that one among every 20 teachers are reporting the mental health problems for the last more than a year. And then how to reveal this mental stress, how we can face this mental stress means another study reveals that the meditation can reduce brain tissue associated with the anxiety and worrying along with other activities. Along with other activities such as yoga, physical exercise will be also a powerful method of for reducing the mental health problems on stress. So I think this is a very needful topic at this juncture, and I congratulate the convener and the organizing secretary for selecting this topic. In selecting this topic for FDP on emotional intelligence and mental health of educators, which gained you a more number of participants, and it is useful for our profession also. So once again, I thank the persons who provided the opportunity for me to as a part of this program. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, madam, for your blessings and very professional valedictory address. Thank you, ma'am. It is the
Thank you.
time to invite our HOD Professor Kader Farooq for his felicitation address. Please, sir.
Respected Chairman of the meeting, a Golden Jubilee Principal, Reverend Father Godwin Rufus, S.A., Arulanandar College, Karmathur, Madurai, Tamil Nadu, India. Respected Deputy Principal, Chief Guest of the Day, Dr. K. Puspaveni, Assistant Professor, Research Center in Business Administration, VHNA Senthil Kumar College, Nadar College, Autonomous, Virudhunagar, Tamil Nadu, India. Today our Faculty Development Program Resource Person, Ms. Priscilla Joseph, Corporate and Institutional Soft Skill Trainer, Chennai, India. My dear friend, Mr. P. Ramachandran, Yesterday and Today Program Organizing Secretary. Other VIP on the online Google Meet, my beloved colleagues and dear participation, a very good evening everybody. Have a nice day. Today is only such a day when we remember the past 1 year and all the good things that came along with it. First of all, let me congratulate all the organizers and participation, especially we thank Mr. P. Ramachandran, Assistant Professor, Department of Information Technology and Management, Arulanandar College, Madurai, Tamil Nadu, India. I am very proud he is my friend, and Professor S. Ilayaraja, Assistant Professor, Management Studies, Director of Distance Education, Madurai Kamaraja University, Tamil Nadu, India. He is a systematic man, energetic, pre-planning, innovation, and especially there's a time management, a really good. Now I give you Mr. Ilayaraja rate for 5 out of 5. It's a 5-star. And intricate work woven into the fabric of Arulanandar College, its Department of Information Technology and Management. They organized a 2-day the faculty development program on yesterday and today. Emotional intelligence and educators of the mental health. The day 1, the day 2, today, the topic is really wonderful. Basically, the faculty development program, FDP, are carefully designed to bridge the gap in quality of research and teaching skills that are required in a fashionable management education in India. The award of faculty development program, FDP, to cover area like as stress management, emotions, and the new concept, the methods and techniques, the theoretical, the practically. So basically the faculty development program activities have a positive effect on the student academic achievements in higher education. High satisfaction with the faculty development program, changes in attitudes towards the teaching and the faculty development, the focus, the gain the knowledge and skills, change in teaching behavior. The famous noted is tell me and I forget. Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I may remember. Teach me and I may remember. Involve me and I learn. Involve me and I learn. The more that you read, the more things you will know. In learning, you will teach. And teaching, you will learn. So basically the emotions identify your feelings. Knowing how you feel can be tricky. Share your true emotions. Feel the fire, but don't get burned. Ask for a response. Find a safe place where you can escape. Never assume you know how someone else feels. Make the dialogues is meaningful. Accept that you may not feel great afterwards. So this concept, everybody like. Why? Because of COVID-19 problem, every people face a lot of problems or emotions in our heart. So how to free the emotions from our heart regarding the problem of COVID-19? So the 2-day faculty development of program changes the world, but at the same time to increase in a positive vibration and decrease the negative side also. Wish you all the best. And thank you very much for giving me this wonderful opportunity. And thank you, Mr. Ramachandran team. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your felicitating. Thank you for your felicitating message to all of us. Thank you, sir. I invite Professor Nelson Raja, Assistant Professor, Department of IT and Management, to introduce our resource person. Please, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good evening to you all. It's my great pleasure to introduce today's resource person, Ms. Priscilla Joseph, ma'am, who is going to talk to us about engaging your emotions. Ms. Priscilla Joseph, madam, did her master's degree in English literature and started her career as the soft skill trainer. She is a multilingual speaker who knows Hindi, Marathi, Malayalam, and Tamil. She is the one of the well-known soft skill trainer in the corporate world more than 20 years. She has given many lectures and related to the soft skills and trust management in national level and international level programs. Recently, she has delivered a wonderful lecture on the topic Navigating Times in Madurai Kamaraja University FTP program. This lecture created the great impact to become a resource person in our program too. I welcome you, ma'am. Also, I welcome everyone once again and hand over the session to Ms. Priscilla, madam. Have a nice session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Joseph, for the warm welcome that you gave me.
Welcome, ma'am.
I'm really delighted. I'm really delighted to be here. And you know what surprises me and what really makes me positive is the fact that in spite of the pandemic times, in spite of schools and colleges being locked down, in spite of, the rumors about the disease and, so much of emotional upheaval, I'm really happy that we can meet over technology like this. And I want to thank Father Godwin Rufus, Principal of Arul Anandar College, Professor Kadir Farooq, Department of Information and Technology. I would like to thank FDP Organizing Secretary, Department of IT, Professor Ramachandran, Professor Ilayaraja of Madurai Kamaraj University, who gave me this opportunity, and Dr. K. Pushpaveni, the chief guest of this evening. Thank you very much. Last but not least, I would like to thank each participant here who's taken the effort and the time to log in, and thank you for your overwhelming response yesterday. So I would like to start by saying I had an emotional breakdown just now. In the sense, just for 20 minutes ago, we had a breakdown of the Wi-Fi, and I'm sitting actually in the dark. So I was really, the emotions were coming over me. What am I going to do? Will I be able to do the program and so on? And I had to calm myself and say, whatever, I can use the phone, and I logged in through my phone. So the first test is always for the person who's speaking. So I'm here and I'm very happy that I've been connected. I was able to connect. So I will start with a story, as I usually do, because I love storytelling. And especially when it's related to the pandemic times, I want you to imagine. So can I have the first slide, please? The slide of a hospital room. Sir, Ilayaraja, sir? Anyway, I will go on with the story. So in a terminal ward of the cancer department in a hospital were two patients. And when I say terminal illness, it means they are in the third or the fourth stage of cancer, which means no return. So they may not be able to come back to their original state of health. So one person had lung cancer, and he was near the window. His bed was near the window. And there was another person who had some other cancer, and both the beds were divided by a curtain. Now, both the men got friendly with each other because they knew their life is going to be ended very shortly. So they started talking and they became very close to each other. Their families were also close to each other. This was the scenario. And every day at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the person who had lung cancer was raised from his bed so he could sit up. And when he sat up, the fluids from his lungs would drain out. So this was an everyday affair when the patient was treated this way. So when he was being treated, what he would do is he will look out of the window and tell the person next to him, the other patient, of the beautiful sight that he was seeing. He would tell him about a park, a little pond with ducks in it, butterflies flying everywhere, the blossoms, roses blooming, and children playing in the park, and mothers talking to each other, chatting. So every day at 4 o'clock, he would describe what is happening to his roommate. So this is how their days passed. Initially, his roommate was very happy because he was getting to hear everything that this man was saying. But somewhere along the line, he felt upset. Why am I not near the window? His emotions were a little stirred. And this is how he was feeling, although he did not tell it out. Then one day, what happens is he hears the person near the window struggling for breathing because he was vomiting on it and he was choking. So this person next to him could have called the nurse. He could have rung the bell because this man was not able to ring the bell. But he refused. He did not ring the bell. And after some time, this person with the lung cancer near the window passed away. Can you imagine the feelings this man would have had? Guilt, shame, he couldn't tell anybody. Moreover, he was going to pass away. So, this is a very emotional story because he realized what he had done. But he called the nurse and told her, "Nurse, can you shift me to the window, please, the next day?" So the nurse said, "Okay, sir, can be done." So he was shifted next to the window. As soon as he was made comfortable, he looked up to the window and expecting to see the park, the children, the flowers, the butterflies, the birds, expecting to see that, he got a rude shock. He saw just a gray wall, just a wall. So he quickly called the nurse and said, "Nurse, what happened? My friend told me that these were the things that he saw every day, and he would tell me a different story every day. What happened?" And the nurse said, "Sorry, sir, I've been working here for 6 years, and all I know is the gray wall." This was another shock to this man. Can you imagine that this friend he could have saved was only helping him to be comfortable, was telling all the stories, although it did not exist, just to make him happy. So with this in mind, I will just stop with the story. I want you to really think about it. And before we go to the questionnaire, I want everyone to chat with me, put it on chat. What are you feeling at this moment with the pandemic, with children in school, with colleges closed, husband and wife, 24 hours together? The freedom of going out is not there. So I just want you to put in chat, what are you feeling at the moment? I encourage you. Can we see some comments on the chat, please? Participants? Sad, this too will pass. Time, frustrated, sad, happy. I really miss my freedom. Frustrated, can hear good music. More time for my family, good. Sad, happy, unhappy, anxious, boring. Happy and passing. Feeling useless, can study more. What's in its workplace? Happy, health conscious, improved. I'm happy with my family. Wonderful, mechanical. Life is going mechanical. What do I do? Adjust it. Okay. Well done, well done. Blessed. Somebody says I'm blessed. As busy as always. Develop myself. Wonderful. Thank you so much, participants, for that active rush of your feelings. It helped me attend this seminar. Wonderful. Thanks to God. More time with my family. Very nice. I'm so happy that all these feelings are emitting from you right now. Always okay. Very good. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. So, Ilayaraja sir, can we go to the third slide, please?
Yes, ma'am.
The questionnaire, please.
Questionnaire.
Yeah, the questionnaire. Just bear with me a minute. Somebody says hibernating, waiting for spring to come. I like that. It's not clear. We will be lucky if we be alive. Really? Okay. It's not clear. Not clear. What is not clear? Screen is not clear? Sir?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam. If they are viewing in the mobile phone, it will not be clear.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay.
So can I see the score alone, sir?
Scores, you said they will have they themselves, right?
No, no. The score is what I wanted to project on the screen, sir. Because I'm not able to.
No, madam. I don't have now. You could get it from the chat box from the participant side.
Yeah, I'll just give me a minute.
Yeah.
Because of the power situation, I'm not able to see properly.
Okay.
Okay, participants, I hope you've got your 20 questions in front of you. Can you put it in your chat whether you have it with you? The 20 questions, please. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Not at all. Because this is a score that okay, many of you have it. So I'm going to tell you, I have divided that. All the 20 questions have been divided into 4 parts. Please listen up. The first part is self-awareness. The first part is self-awareness. Questions 1, 5, 9, 12, and 15. Self-awareness questions are 1, 5, 9, 12, and 15. If you can mark it between 5 and 25, please put your marks there. This is for you only. This is for your eyes only. It is a self-evaluation of your emotional intelligence. So the second part is self-management. Self-management questions are 3, 6, 10, 13, and 18. These are your self-management questions. How do you manage yourself? Again, I repeat, 3, 6, 10, 13, and 18. Ilayaraja sir,
Yes, ma'am.
there is some chats, they're saying they have not received it at all.
No,
Okay.
it's in the chat box we already given. We have received almost 600 responses, madam.
Okay, fine. I'm just going to continue then.
Yes.
The next is social awareness. And the questions are, those that have the questions before you, please, the social awareness questions are, you just have to pick up the questions. I'm giving you the numbers. The numbers are 4, 9, 14, 17, and 19. 4, 7, 14, 17, and 19. You don't have to put the scores in the chats. It is for your eyes only. Don't put it in chat. And the last is relationship management. Relationship management. And the questions are 2, 8, 11, 16, and 20. So this is how you will score it. If there are from 5, if you're doing it always, 1, if you're rarely doing it. Okay? Sir, can you share it in the chat box, please?
Okay, madam, I'll do it. Immediately, I'll do it.
Okay, thank you. So the last is relationship management, and the questions are 2, 8, 11, 16, and 20. 2, 8, 11, 16, and 20. So, if this is not clear, can you please do it at home? Now that I've given you the questions, you can score it at home also. I will take another 5 minutes and then I will move on. Okay, so there is some problem with the form. So it will be sent to you, each one of you, so you can do the assessment at home also. And in each part, if it is below 18, for example, social awareness, if your rating is below 18, then that area is where you will have to work. If it is self-awareness or social awareness, where is the problem? If it is below 18, that is where you have to work on improving that particular part of emotional intelligence. So I want to thank you for this. Sorry for a little bit of inconvenience here. We will be sending the form to you. You can even finish it at home. If you get anything below 18 in each part, then we will have to look and work on it. Thank you very much. Sir, can we go to the next slide, please?
Yes, madam. That one YouTube
yes,
link
the
is
video,
there.
please. Can you play the video, sir?
Yes, madam.
Most of us think of love, hate, happiness, or fear. Those strong feelings we experience throughout life. Our emotions are the driving force behind many of our behaviors, helpful and unhelpful. Just where do our emotions come from? Our brain is wired to look for threats or rewards. If one is detected, the feeling region of the brain alerts us through the release of chemical messages. Emotions are the effect of these chemical messages traveling from our brain through the body. When our brain detects a potential threat, our brain releases the stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol, which prepare us for a fight or flight response. When we detect or experience something rewarding, such as someone doing something nice for you, our brain releases dopamine, oxytocin, or serotonin. These are the chemicals that make us feel good and motivate us to continue on the task or behavior. In these instances, the feeling region of the brain kicks in before the thinking part. Sometimes the reactions of the feeling brain are so strong that it dominates our behaviors, and we're unable to think rationally in the moment. Our emotions hijack our brain. While many of our emotional responses happen subconsciously, our thinking can influence our emotions, and sometimes this can be unhelpful. Just thinking about something threatening can trigger an emotional response. This is where we can manage our emotions with conscious thinking. Our emotions play a powerful role in the way we experience the world. Understanding and regulating our emotions through our thoughts and behaviors can help us take greater control of our brain and achieve our goals.
Sir, is the video over?
Yes, madam. Video over.
Okay. So I'm just going to debrief the video for 2 minutes. Emotions like anger, fear, happiness, joy, jealousy, envy. So emotions are very complex. And the beauty is emotions drive behavior. That is the problem. Emotions drive our behavior. I want to tell you that the brain is wired to detect two things mainly. One is threat and the other is reward. So typically when the brain detects a threat, for example, there is a dog, you're walking on a road and you're alone and a dog comes your way and you're not very comfortable with dogs. So what happens is the brain sends a signal. The brain, the limbic part of the brain, the amygdala is the seat of emotions. So once this brain sends signals to the body through the central nervous system, what happens is chemicals are released. The stress, they're called stress chemicals. And the stress chemicals are nothing but cortisol and adrenaline. So when this happens, our heart starts beating faster, pulse starts running, we are sweating, you know, all our emotions are connected to the body. And the body can do three things. One, flight. So on seeing the dog, you can run and the dog may run after you. Or you can freeze, just stand there and you're too shocked to move. Or you can think. So what do you think? I have to be confident. I can walk. I can pick up a stick and slowly shoo it away. So between the stimuli of seeing the dog and the response, the thinking kicks in. The thinking is just in between. But what happens is our emotions or feelings always kick in before the thinking. So, this is where the problem is. We think later, but we feel earlier. So this is what happens. And similarly, if you see a reward, what you do is your brain is happy. Your brain sends happy cells or happy stimulus in the form of oxytocin and dopamine. It's like a drug actually. What the drug does, the dopamine, the chemical reaction gives. So there is no problem because happiness. But when the stress hormones or stress signals are sent, that is when we have a problem. So what is emotional intelligence? It is basically a balance between our thinking and our feeling. If our feeling and thinking go hand in hand and they balance each other, then we have no problem. Sometimes thinking can also take over feeling. Overthinking can bring out memories that relate to the incident that happened already. And what happens is, again, we have a lot of stress. So the whole session is going to be how we will balance the emotions, which is in the amygdala part of the brain, and the rationality, which is the neocortex or the new part of the brain. So this has to be really in balance. That is what the whole session is about. Now, what are emotions? Ma'am already told us, what are emotions? They are strong feelings that come or are derived from our environment, our situations, the background, the family, and so on. plus the mood. Some emotions bring in good moods. Okay, so the moods, and also we have our relationships. Some people automatically bring the good in us and we feel happy, whereas some people challenge us to bring in the negative emotions. So whatever the case is, we have to handle our emotions in an intelligent way. That is the whole session about today. So we will go to the next slide, sir. So I come to the implications of emotions. All of you here are great experts in terms of skills and knowledge. All of you are here, doctors and PhDs and MPhils and so on. So there is no question as to your skills and knowledge. That is the reason we are all here. However, above this is the ability to connect, to cooperate, to correlate, to work as a team, to be able to work together in spite of our differences. Now that is the challenge. Skills and hard skills, we have no problem at all. But working with people, managing our emotions and helping understand others' emotions is the core problem today. Dale Carnegie, have you heard? I don't know if you've heard of Dale Carnegie. He was a management guru. He is. So in 1936, he wrote a book on how to win friends and influence people. And the book was about not only skills, technical skills, but also how to manage people, manage oneself and manage people. Although the book was written in 1936, the same problem exists today. A lot has changed. We have come a long way, but still the core is managing ourselves and managing others. So Dale Carnegie conducted a survey in 500 fortune companies. What are fortune companies? Companies that are doing very, very well. Top-notch companies. So they conducted a survey there and they interviewed the managers, the CEOs, the COOs as to what is the success of their companies. And they were surprised to get the answer that almost all of them said 15% was knowledge and skills and 85% was emotional intelligence and people skills. You'd be surprised. And in the starting level, yes, knowledge and skill is important. But as you climb the ladder, as you climb your positions, what happens is people need to be able to handle others. Employees and employers are promoted on the basis of seniority and knowledge and skills. But about 40% of CEOs and leaders and heads have failed because they have not known how to handle people. Skills and knowledge, fantastic. But how do you handle people? That's how you get the work done. That's how the organization develops. That is how we march towards productivity. So this was an amazing fact that was realized. So I want to tell you today that the higher the threshold of emotional intelligence, the higher the productivity, the higher the relationships. So I want to examine yourself, examine ourselves now. Where are we in this emotionally intelligent journey? Can we work alone only, or can we work with people? Can we motivate? Can we encourage? When can we encourage our students to do really well? how emotionally intelligent are we is the question. Emotional intelligence is critical to success. This is what the WHO has said. The World Health Organization, which is really known, especially now in the pandemic times, every other day, World Health Organization is coming and, and they're telling us, do this, do that, So WHO says, please listen up. WHO says, if a person wants to be healthy, if a person wants to be successful, if a person wants to have good relationships, then we need to have emotional intelligence. It is not a soft skill. They have termed it as a life skill. This is a life skill. So you may be good at so many things, but are we good at handling ourselves and handling others is the question that we need to ask. So what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is the ability to first identify your emotions. Do you get angry quickly? Are you always complaining? The negative is always coming to you. Are you calm and collected? What is your predominant emotion? So what is it that really triggers you? And you have to identify it first. Second, understand, why are you behaving? Why are we behaving like this? Why are we getting angry so far? So what is it that I need to do to help me? Okay, so that is the second part. Then you first identify, understand, use it in a positive, productive way, and manage. So this is emotional intelligence basically. Nothing more, nothing less. So we have emotions are very complex. That is why it is so difficult to understand ourselves and understand others. For example, you get angry. How does the anger start? It starts with irritation, just being irritated. It can go on to frustration. From frustration, it can go to anger. From anger, which is not checked, it can go to rage. It is in rage, the extreme part of anger, that murders are committed. You see? So it is very complex. We have to know exactly where we are at. Can anyone tell me the difference between envy and jealousy? Can you put it on chat, please? What is envy? What is jealousy? Envy and jealousy. Okay. Okay, what is envy? Jealousy affects others. Okay, good. Good. Any more? Any more that you can think of? Because these are range of emotions. Envy, you long for others' things. Okay, good. Not working the form. Okay. Okay, envy is stopping others. I would like to explain it like this. Envy is when you find your neighbor has constructed a beautiful house better than yours. So you envy him. You envy a person, she has lovely diamond jewelry. So you can envy. But jealousy is more to do with people. For example, a 2-year-old comes running in and she sees her father playing with another child. Automatically, there is a feeling of jealousy. When we have, relationships, that is more when we hear of, somebody said it's fear of losing somebody. And you become jealous. And the jealousy can again go back to anger, and you start acting upon it. Okay? I would also like to talk about another emotion, which is very important, especially in the pandemic times. We have grief. Somebody passes away, somebody dies in a family. So it starts with grief. You feel sorrow, you know, and the sorrow can develop, maybe stay for a few days, but if the stop a few days, a few months, you will always miss the person. But if the grief is carried to a big level, what happens is it becomes sorrow and it becomes depression. You know, recently we heard about the death of Sushant Singh Rajput. Okay, so we know how emotions play a very crucial role, because he had everything. He had looks, he had money, he had fame, he was a very intelligent boy. But somewhere down the line, emotions were not working out right for him. He was in depression. And the beauty of depression is nobody can see it. Nobody can see it unless you go the extra mile. I'm amazed that he was such a public figure, but people could not get this. So can you imagine people who are not so famous? What are the kind, a student maybe who comes to our classes, what kind of emotion does he have? You know, so the emotions are very complex. That is why we have to totally understand ours and understand those of others as well. This is a crucial, I implore you, I entreat you, because learning to know yourself and learning to know others is the secret of success. No degree teaches you this. No experience experience may teach you, but you know, we have to work on this. It's a day-to-day process. We will be graduating for the rest of our lives. So who invented or who brought the idea of emotional intelligence? Maybe Bindu ma'am would have shared this, and maybe it's a repeat, but I want you to please hear it again. There is no harm in hearing it. Of course, I will have some details that may have been, you know, which is different. So I'm going to bring it out anyway. So I'm going to talk about the person who stressed upon emotional intelligence. His name was Daniel Goleman. And he wrote this book, Emotional Intelligence, in 1982. Okay, so he's a psychologist. His book is very simple. The synopsis of his book is emotional intelligence is basically understanding who you are, what are your emotions, and managing them, understanding who the other is, social awareness, and having good relationship with others. This is all he said. This is all is the crux of the matter, right? And Aristotle, you know, the one who is a Greek philosopher, he said, it is easy to get angry. Anyone can get angry. But to be angry with the right person, for the right amount of time, for the right purpose, and in the right way is not easy at all. What do I mean by the right purpose? You just cannot get angry for everything. We cannot get angry for everything. The purpose, be angry at the situation and not at the person. You can be angry for a day or two, but if you're angry, you will develop unforgiveness as well. You know, how long can we be angry with someone? I've heard people say, 25 years ago, this person did this to me. He did it last year. I will never speak to him. Can you imagine? what happens is that person has done something to us, whether it is a student, whether it is a spouse, whoever it is, they have done and they've moved on. But you have put yourself in the penalty box. You are a prisoner. We become prisoners when we don't forgive. You know? And it's not easy. I'm not saying, coming here to say, oh, emotions can be got like this. No, no. It is a lifelong journey. We have to work on our emotions and we have to forgive. Forgiveness is one area that will trap you. Unforgiveness. It will be like a bitter root that will rise up. So today, let's make, an effort. If we have put anybody in the penalty box, if we have put anyone and we cannot forgive them at all, today may be the day where you free, I free myself. We free ourselves. So let's start doing that. So Daniel Coleman talks about how emotional intelligence can increase our productivity, can give us good relationships with each other, and improve our mental and physical health as well. So there are just 5 components to emotional intelligence. And they are, sir, can we show the slides? I'm not able to see the slides, so Ilayaraja, sir?
Which slide you want to present?
The components of emotional intelligence, please. Components of emotional intelligence.
Yes, madam, it's there. It's there.
Okay, so the components are basically self-awareness. We have self-motivation, self-regulation, empathy, and social skills. That's all, the 5 components. So let's go to self-awareness. I want you to chat. If there is one word you can describe yourself, who are you? What would you put? Who are you? You can go to the chat. I'm blissful. I'm a teacher. Okay? I'm positive. Very good. Emotional, feminist, blessed. Okay? Anyone else would like to add on? I'm human. Wonderful. I'm human. That is trending. Well done. Okay. Happy and cheerful. Satisfied. Wow, I like that. You are satisfied. Superb. So I'm sure you're good in your, quite a good stability in your emotions. Human. Child of God. Wow, I like that. Flesh and blood. Hardworking. I'm a student. Empathetic. I'm a seeker. I'm anxious. Wonderful. I love the way the descriptions are coming. I'm a philanthropist. I'm a good listener, introvert, empathetic. Is it because we are talking a lot of empathy because yesterday's section? Could be. I'm satisfied, in search of my true self. I'm a smart girl, divine creation. Wonderful. Okay, I'm happy about this. It's going on, coming. So I'm glad. Now, you could describe yourself in one word. I'm very happy. But can you say, what are your predominant emotions? Who are you at the core? What are your strengths and weaknesses? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What motivates you? Let's examine ourselves. As far as self-awareness is concerned, there are 3 stages. One is engulfed stage. So the person is not aware of his emotions, whether angry or grieved or jealous or whatever. He's not really attuned to his emotions. Okay, this person cannot control, cannot manage, cannot change. So he or she is called the engulfed. That means covered by emotions. The second is an accepting person. This person knows their emotions, the positive and the negative. They're able to work on the positive, but the negative, they're not able to really work and change and manage. These are the accepting type. And the third type will be the self-aware person. So this person knows who they are, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses. They know their feelings, they know their emotions. This person is able to identify and able to work on the good, positive ones and are able to work on the negative ones as well. So this person is very, very aware of what is the problem. Now, Steve Jobs. I'm sure you've heard of Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was the CEO of Apple. He died of prostate cancer. And I believe he did one thing every day. He would go in front of the mirror. He will stand. He will ask himself, if all the things that he wants to do that particular day, is he happy about what he's going to do that day? He will ask himself, am I happy about doing the things I'm going to do today? If not, he will start changing those things. This was a daily practice with Steve Jobs. And you and I know he was very successful as far as his business or his, life was concerned. He's considered one of the greatest presenters of our times and very, very intelligent person. So he developed emotional intelligence as well. Now, self-evaluation. Self-evaluation is very critical to emotional intelligence. When we evaluate ourselves. Who are we? What motivates us? What are our predominant emotions? What are our strengths and weaknesses? When we understand this, we are able to increase our productivity at work. We are able to enhance our relationships with each other, and our health and anxiety tactics improves. Stress is reduced. So see, this is what happens when we really work on our self-awareness. I would like to just close the self-awareness part with Stephen Covey. Have you heard of Stephen Covey? Excellent management guru again. His books are really used for management. He talks about the 7 habits of highly effective people. 7 habits, and then he talks about self-awareness. And there he says, are we reactive or are we proactive? I'm quickly going to tell a small event that he talks about. Here on the breakfast table is a father, mother, and a little child. So the breakfast is there, and there is a cup of black coffee on the table. And the father comes suited, booted, ready to go to work. And the child, excited seeing her father, comes running, dashes against the table, and the coffee spills on his shirt. Now, most of us, what the response would be? Anger. Wife apart, that kind of a reaction. And this is exactly what this dad does. He gets angry, he goes up, changes another shirt. By the time he comes down, this girl crying because daddy has scolded her, is not ready. She misses the school bus. And now daddy has to go drop her in school and then go to office. Beautiful sequence. So he's speeding actually. And the police cop catches him. and he's asked to pay a fine and then he moves on, quickly goes to office, only to see that he's left his briefcase at home. Wonderful sequence of events. But on the other hand, Stephen Covey shows the same thing in a different light. Here, the father coolly tells the little one, you should be careful, girl. Tells her very sweetly. And then what he does is he goes up, changes, comes back in time. She says, bye, daddy, and goes to work. So it's very, very simple. Do we react or do we respond? The first was an emotional reaction to the incident. The second is emotional response. Okay, she's a little child. Come on, what's the use of getting angry? It's already spilled. Can we do anything by getting angry? No. So calmly, the thinking kicks in here before you respond. The thinking. And now what happens is he goes to office. So self-awareness is critical for emotional intelligence. I'll go quickly to self-motivation. Sir, the second slide, please. Self-motivation. So what motivates you? Are you motivated by success? Are you motivated by teaching? Are you passionate about teaching? Or every Friday you are happy, or Saturday, oh, college is over. And Monday you are suicidal because you have to go back to the same college and teach a bunch of disinterested students maybe. So what is it? Are you happy going back to college? Are you happy going back to work on a Monday? Are you really passionate about what you're doing? Because I want to tell you, all of us here, gathered here, are in leadership positions. You can ask, but I'm not in the management. But all of us, even a student is a leader, because the definition is, if you can influence another person's thoughts, behavior, feelings. It can be siblings who are influencing each other. It can be spouse. It can be HOD and lecturer, anybody. So when you're influencing another person, we become automatically leaders. And a demotivated person can never motivate others. And you and I, as educators and trainers, are in a position to motivate. I love motivating people. That is the core of my being. When one person goes to the next level, be it a student or, anybody for that matter, I'm thrilled. I'm really, really thrilled. So we as educators have a lovely way of influencing others, but we cannot do it if we ourselves are demotivated. So what is it that motivates you? Is it learning? Is it salary? Is it the family? Is it the quality of life? Is it just time spent with people you like? What is it that motivates you? Please look into yourself. Today, it is not about external, it is about internal. Internal of the mind and the emotions. Who are we basically? What motivates us? Thomas Maslow, the theory of self-actualization. First, it's the biological needs, then safety needs, love needs, esteem needs, and the last is the motivation of self-actualization, of becoming who we are totally created to be. So this is self-motivation. So can we go to the next slide, please? Self-regulation. Yeah, somebody says being with young minds. Wow, it's really, really, I can't tell you. People often ask me, why do I like it so much, what I do? And I say, it is One of the reasons is being with young minds. You know, you stay connected, you think like them, you understand them better, and it is one of the best places to be. At least as far as I'm concerned, I love what I do, you know, so it makes me more motivated as I get up. So we come to self-regulation. Can you imagine there is, we are in a traffic signal, you're rushing to work, and somebody comes and hits your bumper. I want to ask you honestly, what is your reaction? Put it in the chat, please. 2 minutes. Somebody comes and dashes your vehicle when you're in a hurry. What would be your reaction? Okay, we'll be angry. There's one honest person there. Yes. Furious, angry. Okay. Okay, I can almost imagine this. I've seen it so many times near, you know, they just get down, and if they could, they would slap the other person. Am I right? It happens all the time. So how do we regulate this? Do we get anything out of getting so angry and anxious? But probably understanding the other guy, thinking, okay, he doesn't know how to drive, or he's just, you know, as in a hurry as I am. Trying that would help. So this is regulation. Getting angry, but stop to think, is it going to help me? Is it going to help him? Is he going to change because I slap him? What is it that I will do? Now, many people say, sir, have you put on this slide, please? Many people say, willpower helps. Does willpower really help? Because they did a little experiment with people. Okay, there were two groups. One group, they put a bowl of chocolates and a bowl of carrots in front of the group. And they said, you cannot eat the chocolates, but you can eat the carrots. Let's see how long you will be there. You know? So the other group had the same thing. Had chocolates in one bowl, and they had carrots in the other bowl. So they were asked to, no rules, no conditions here, you can eat. Can you believe it? The group which was told not to eat was the one that gave up easily. In 39 minutes or something, they could not control. They had to eat the chocolate. So willpower, if willpower worked, smoking would end like that. Drinking to stop would be no problem. Drugs, easy. Willpower, I can do it. So willpower is not, willpower coupled with help, with a lot of distractions, the right hobbies, the right frame of mind is where you can be helped. So it is not willpower alone. You need strength from outside, you need strength from inside to stay regulated. So the next is society. Can you imagine if we had no rules whatsoever? There are no rules in marriage. There are no rules in life at all. You come to a particular college, you have detailed norms and guidelines. And we definitely have to follow it. You know, there are always people breaking the rules. But if we had no guidelines in society, what will happen to us? Can you think about it? So self-regulation will help in societal regulation, societal compliance. We will comply, we will obey, we will happily subject. You know, there's so much news in the internet about Vanita and Surya Devi and all of that going on. I don't know how many of you think this is helping us productively. You know, unless there is some compliance, why does rape happen? Why does murder happen? Self-regulation. These are things that are really, we have to look into ourselves. We have the responsibility of our children. Many of you have young children. Watch them. Be examples to them. Regulate yourself. That will regulate your children. You know, we tell our children, for example, a phone call comes and we tell the children, Appa illen sollu. And the child learns double standards. We can tell lies. Where do they learn from? Us. A student is not obeying. A student is just not working out with us. He sees us. Are we examples? Can we lead them? Unless we regulate ourselves, a man who cannot lead himself cannot lead others, including me. I'm working on this every day. How best can I improve my self-regulation, managing my emotions? This is really, really, really important. I feel for it because I see so many teenagers, youth struggling because they have no good examples to follow. Abdul Kalam was an example to the youth. I don't know how many of you would agree with me. I thought all the youth really admired the man. Can you imagine if we had more fathers and husbands and, you know, leaders who would be exemplary in their life, who would regulate their lives, then our future generation will be okay. Some of the responsibility of who they are lies with us today. So how are we regulating ourselves? Very, very important. We as educators are creating generations to come. Are we examples? How are we regulating our emotions? I've heard, especially in the mechanical departments, you know, kids being called, hey, nai, ba. Hey, you know, that kind of work. I've heard it. And that person who hears it is going to do the same thing. What is the language we are using? So I quickly come, sir, to the next slide, empathy. What is empathy? Empathy is removing, I describe it like this, removing your shoes. You can't be in your shoes and know how the other person is. Remove your shoes, take the other person's shoes, you wear it and you walk. Only then will you know how it is to be another person. You know, there are people, migrant workers, migrant workers are suffering. How many of us did anything about it? So empathy is not, ayo. How can we help? You know, in our road, there was one boy, we heard it very late. We could not save the boy, but we tried something. There was one boy who was neglected by his father. This is a real incident. So the father had some issues and the mother walked away. So this young boy of 18 years had his father's cooking was so bad, he was not eating at all. So one fine day, somebody saw him, skin and bones only, and his father will lock him up and go to work. So the neighbors could not get it. So suddenly we get a call saying this boy will die anytime. Can anyone help? Ayyo pavam, paiyan. So a few of us, we called Hope and Justice in Chennai. I called them, and the next day, a police officer, doctor, and a social worker came, rescued the boy from the house. We took him to hospital, and he was diagnosed with TB, lungs fully infected. The doctors said, we cannot do anything. So they took him to TB sanatorium. 18-year-old passes away. He dies. We were late. There are so many people like that. And we talk about empathy. How can we be empathetic when we don't do anything about it? So open your hearts and your ears and your minds and see how can you be empathetic. A student cannot understand the subject. Walk the extra mile with him. Listen to him. So there are two things very necessary to be empathetic. One, observation. You need to observe the person. What they're saying, what they're not saying through their body language, their eyes, their posture. Are they looking at you? A student, very happy he used to be, but one fine day he's not happy. He or she. And you, if you observe, you will notice the change. Why has that happened? So that is observation of content as well as intent. So you observe not only what they are saying, but also their body language. As teachers, this is a special skill as educators. So it is not only the observation, it has to be followed up by listening. Most of us listen only to answer. We want to answer, so we are listening. We are framing questions. But are we really listening to the person? Listening to the words, listening to the body language, the things that are not being said. So are we listening? Quality of listening. I want to give you an example here. I had trained a student a year back, and it was just a two-day training, not even a 1 year class or nothing, 2-day training. And day before yesterday, she put a post on Facebook saying, I'm so happy I have met this person. On my very low day, when I was feeling horrible, Priscilla Joseph came to me and said a word. And that word, even now I'm having challenges. She had typhoid and she had a lot of issues. Even now, it is helping me. I was taken aback, and she asked me, ma'am, do you remember what you said? And I had no idea. Believe me, I had no idea what I said. But we have a chance to make a difference. We have a chance to make a difference. So how are we going to do it? So empathy, people, is so important. Empathize with people. And the last skill that I'm going to touch upon is the social skills. The social skills is nothing but intrapersonal, that is who I am, and interpersonal, who they are, who are the others, right? So always remember who you are and who they are. And for this, 3 things I want to tell you. Please note it down, because it will help you somewhere. Because we're all people who deal with other people. We cannot work alone. We are in sync with our co-workers, our management, our students, the faculty, the people in the colleges, working in different areas, in the canteens. So how do we develop this interpersonal skills? First is networking. We have to run behind relationships. Really run behind relationships. It is not easy. All of us cannot make friends easily, or we are not open, but we need to pursue. We have to run after relationships. Work and relationships, the task and people are very important. Yes, we need to get 100%. Yes, we need the professors working overtime. Yes, we need everything in order. That is the task part. But who is going to do the task? The people. The people are not taken care of. The task doesn't happen that easily. So to have productivity, relationships, and the task is very important. So how are we treating people? Is it mutually beneficial to both of us? Most people today think, what will I get in it? எனக்கு என்ன இருக்கு அதுல? What am I going to get? But for a change, do not be the go-getter, be the go-giver. You will get such satisfaction. When I've had the most difficult batches in my class, I would take them out and connect them with social responsibility, with children of HIV patients. I would take them to orphanages. I will connect them, socially. And you can see the change in those students. My 2011 batch, I'm still in touch with. 2010 batch, we're still in touch. Why? Because we have done something apart from ourselves. So we can, motivate students to give back, to go back, and we can give. And I also would like to talk about servant leadership at this time. Two words that are exactly opposite: servant, leader. But I believe in servant leadership so much, because a servant is not somebody who wipes the boots of people, no, but somebody who's service oriented, who sees the big picture, who's not always thinking about what I get, but is willing to serve. I've noticed in the training fraternity, many people don't share their views. They don't share their knowledge, but I always feel knowledge shared is knowledge given. Many more people get benefited by it. So, it's such an amazing experience. The vision and the mission of any organization, you have the pyramid, the hierarchy, the seer, the chairman, the director, the management, the staff, the students, for the vision and mission. But servant leadership means the pyramid is upside down. So for us, it's the students on top. And for the students to be empowered, the management empowers the staff. The staff empowers the students. So we have a pyramid that is totally upside down, and we serve. And the results will be amazing.
Priscilla ma'am?
Yes?
Last 8 minutes, madam, please.
Okay.
8 minutes. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll quickly close it. I'm done. And the second, I'll quickly finish it. So we have the second part, which is appreciation. Please appreciate others. Networking, say you look good. Appreciation, I want to tell you, is we're very happy appreciating people we like. We tell them, oh, you're looking good. You did a good job. Try appreciating people you don't like. Very difficult. So that is one way you will build relationships. Secondly, sorry, thank you. In our sessions, we've had these two words that really, really motivated. And we've had sessions where kids cry, talk about what happened, magic words, sorry, thank you. And the third thing I would like to mention is negative feedback. Negative feedback. How many of us as lecturers, professors are willing to get negative feedback? What are our emotions when we get it? When the chairman calls us and tells us something, are we willing to accept it? Most times we take it with a feeling of grudge. So what do? Negative feedback is one area that I have to work on personally. I'm trying a lot. Okay. So the last point is personal branding. Robin Sharma asked this question in his book, who will cry when you die? I'm going to close with this. Who will cry when you die? It is not how many bungalows or how many crores you have accumulated. People will cry because how you made them feel. How did you make people feel? What is your brand that you created? I would like to be known in my obituary when they're writing about me, Priscilla Joseph, motivator. What is the obituary that you would like to be known by? What is the brand that you will create? That people will see you and say, hey, this man, this. So, thank you very much. I would like, sir, can you just play the video on that girl, please?
Connection. Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. We will just finish this small clipping and then we can leave.
Unfortunately, somebody labeled me a world limit. There were 4 million people, 6 seconds long, no sound, thousands of comments. Saying, Lizzie, please just do a world a favor, put a gun to your head and kill yourself. Now the world's ugliest woman is creating her own video to inspire people to love and not hate. I'm Desiree Brown for USA Today. 25-year-old Lizzie Velasquez is one of 3 people in the world that has a condition that causes accelerated aging as well as fat loss from the face and body. She's never weighed more than 70 pounds. Most recently, she started the Lizzie Project and used Kickstarter to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for an anti-bullying documentary that tells her inspirational story. I caught up with Lizzie to find out how she's dealing with her sudden success.
Well, my life has now become very surreal over the last few months. I'd probably say since February, my day-to-day has become motivational speaking, finishing up the 3rd book, doing press for the movie, everything that entails to get started. So my day-to-day has definitely changed from pulling all-nighters, studying, going and doing homework and going to class, to now my career.
To find out more about the Lizzie Project, go to aboutlizzie.com.
Okay, the last 2 minutes, I would just like to talk about Lizzie, this girl. This girl, as she was talking, has no fat at all in her body, and she has aging, very fast aging. So she was bullied in school. She was really bullied. So one day they called her ugly, you know. So one day she went and she was thinking about all the beautiful ladies in the world. So she typed the most ugly woman in the world. And guess whose name came up? Her picture. And she was trolled. They told her, why are you alive? Who created you? You're so young. Go and die, and so on. After all these comments, there was one comment at last. And it said, what's wrong with you people? She is not responsible for the way she is. To me, she is more beautiful than all of you who wrote these comments. Now that changed Lizzie's life. One person who had the right emotion changed Lizzie's life. And today, she's a motivational speaker, raising money, getting photographed, and world famous. So whatever our emotions are, whatever our circumstances are, we can be self-aware and regulate and live our lives in an intelligent fashion. And I wish you, each participant, from the bottom of my heart, all goodwill, and God bless each of you, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Yesterday and today, we had wonderful sessions.
And in this connection, we have plenty of questions in the chat box. But due to time constraint, I'd like to ask you only 2 to 3 questions, madam. Can I go ahead with that?
Yes, sir.
One Srinivasulu, he's asking, what is the relationship between emotional and intelligence and social life?
See, the emotions, that is what we were talking about, Krishnan. His name is Krishnan. That's what we were talking about. See, emotional intelligence is us. We know the self-awareness of the person, when it is fully attained and when it's mature, when the threshold level of emotional intelligence is high, then we are able to relate to others. That is the main thing. Who you are and who others are. That is the social link between us and others. And when this link is good, when the emotions are balanced, then relationships are good. When relationships with families are good, then the entire nation is good. So mainly, I would say families are very important in emotional intelligence and society. It starts with the family.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. And one Miss Nisha Kumari Shah. She's asking that there are many past matters in that remains in my mind and usually make me emotional. I want to forget all of those bad thoughts, but I am unable to do that. Please guide me.
Okay, first is why those thoughts keep coming again and again is because, Nisha, you have not dealt with it. What is the reason? Why did it happen? Go back, visit it, and then see where you can make your life different. Okay, there are so many things. For example, prayer, meditation, walk, listening to good music, divert your mind. And I forgot to tell you this, maybe you have never confided in anyone. So have at least 1 or 2 people who you can call truth tellers and your anchors, your safety net, where you can tell somebody and they will not tell anybody else. Or you can even go to counseling if it is really haunting you, Nisha. You can even call me.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And Swarna Rani, she is asking a question. How to bring about positive change in every adamant and troublesome student?
Okay, I love that one. Because an adamant student will always have an issue in his childhood, in his home. So if you could speak on a one-to-one, not in a class setting, one-to-one, you can just you go the extra mile. Speak to him, look at his eyes, read his body language. Ask him, build the trust Then he himself will tell you why he behaves like that. And you can work on that. The link that you form with him. I will always go for the naughty ones and the rebellious ones first. Give them responsibility. Listen to them. And I'm sure you will make a difference in his life. Yeah.
Another question, madam. Could you say some reference books for emotional intelligence?
I would suggest you read Daniel Coleman. For the beginning, Stephen Covey. Please read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey.
Okay. Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. We will end up.
Yesterday and today, we had wonderful sessions and learnings. Now it's time to thank everyone involved in this 2 days faculty development program. So I invite our organizing secretary, Professor P. Ramchandran, to deliver the vote of thanks. Please, sir.
Very good evening. Really happy, ma'am, for your entire colorful and remarkable session. Really, we are understand our own evolution, own emotions. Thank you, ma'am. It's my duty, organizing secretary, say the formal vote of thanks. A very good evening to the learned professors and my dear faculties and friends. Without God's support, nothing could be possible. Thanks to God for making me organize this faculty development program. Together, we can win anything. In that regard, I'd like to thank Honorable Rector, most respected Secretary, beloved Father Principal, and respected Deputy Principal for their permissions and their blessing for conducting this program. Thank you all, sir. I extend hearty thanks to my dynamic head of the department, Mr. R. Kader Farooq, for his excellent cooperation throughout the program. Thank you, sir. I'm really happy for the support of my fellow colleagues through this program. Thanks to Dr. S. Arun Prasad and Mr. J. Albert Dearaj and Dr. J. Nelson Raja. Thank you all, sir. My role model and guide, Professor Dr. K. Pushpavini Madam, for her commendable valedictory address. Thank you very much, Madam. Again, a colorful thanks to Mrs. Priscilla Joseph today resource person, for your motivating and inspiring lecture on engaging your emotions. Thank you for your exciting session, madam. Next, I extend a sincere thanks to my dear friend, Professor S. Ilayaraja, Assistant Professor of Madurai Kamaraj University, for his idea sharing, timely help, and moderator of this two-day FTP. Thank you, sir. And also, I'd like to thank Jai Vijay for Master of Ceremony with colorful words and expressive. Thank you, dear. I extend my thanks to Mr. Bhaskar, Madurai Kamaraj University, for his technical support and assistance for 2 days FTP without any internet difficulties. Thank you, Bhaskar. Most importantly, I humbly thank all participants who have arrived from various colleges throughout India for coming to Arulander College online FTP. It will be a grand success if you take something to your college from this FTP. Thanks for your patience, listening, excellent participation and cooperation throughout the 2 days program. And also I would like to thank media, if any, covering this 2 days FTP. Once again, I thank each and every one of you for your enthusiastic participation today. Thank you. I remain.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Pushpamani madam, today's chief guest. And again, thanks to Priscilla Joseph madam for your excellent presentation. And you are inspired with the way you delivered today and made everyone for evaluating themselves and let them to realize it. And lot of conceptual sharing happened, even those who are not read this concept of emotional intelligence. Thank you, madam. And congratulations and wholeheartedly to the Ramachandran sir for wonderful cooperation and really executed this 2 days program commendably. For your kind heart and your superb emotionally balanced mindset, you have succeeded this program. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, sir. With your support, thank you, sir. Everything you do.
Please.
Thank you,
I
sir.
want to speak, it seems. Dr. K. Pushpamani madam.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Ramachandran, Professor Ramachandran, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, Ilayaraja, sir. Thank you, sir.
We have to thank you for contributing, madam. The whole 2 days you have completely participated as a participant. So I have seen your responses to the resource person too. Though you are a top-notch professor and faculty, senior most in the department, and you are also became a student and learned a lot. I think it seems.
Yes,
Thank you, madam.
it is a nice and very good topic, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, madam. Yes. Thank you, madam.